to the big story that we are breaking on Gravitas tonight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been lauded for hard-selling India at the World Economic Forum in Davos, from wooing world leaders to reaching out to global CEOs to come and invest in India. And that's not breaking news. But yesterday, his political rival, Congress President Rahul Gandhi, tweeted a swipe at Prime Minister Modi, blaming him for the uneven distribution of wealth in the country. He began the tweet with a sarcastic "Welcome to Switzerland, Prime Minister." What Mr. Gandhi, in our opinion, should be doing is also brushing up on history and understanding a contrast. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi promoted India at the World Economic Forum, it turns out that a Congress minister attended the top meet in Davos to work against India's interest. The minister we're talking about is Madhav Singh Solanki, who was External Affairs Minister in the Narasimha Rao government in 1992. It's a story that isn't well known. It's a story that the current generation of Indians perhaps may not have heard of, and it's a story that must be revisited given this context. WION has accessed an affidavit, and the pictures are on your screen. This affidavit shows how the CBI, a premier investigating agency in India, sought the prosecution of Solanki for trying to scuttle the Bofors probe. No prizes for guessing why. Among the names facing the heat then was former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. This affidavit shows that during his official visit to Davos, Solanki sought a meeting with his Swiss counterpart, René Felber. The meeting was arranged during the annual World Economic Conference in 1992, something similar to what Prime Minister Modi just attended. Solanki requested that there should be no witnesses to the meeting. During this meeting, Solanki gave Felber a sealed envelope. He allegedly handed René Felber an unsigned and fabricated memorandum. The CBI says Solanki tried to interfere with the ongoing Bofors investigation. This affidavit further says that Solanki claimed he had new information about the Bofors case and wanted Felber to communicate that to the Swiss government. Felber allegedly told Solanki he was not responsible for justice matters, and soon enough, parts of the story made it to the papers in India. Solanki had to resign from the Narasimha Rao cabinet. That was in April 1992. He reportedly admitted in Parliament that he had delivered a memorandum to the Swiss minister. Remember, the Bofors payoff case was a major political scandal in India. Rajiv Gandhi and members of the Indian and Swedish government were accused of receiving kickbacks in a $1.4 billion deal between Swedish arms manufacturer Bofors with the government of India for the sale of 410 field howitzer guns and a supply contract almost twice that amount. And that's a lot of money given the time we're talking about, almost $1.5 billion. The Congress government signed an agreement with Swedish firm Bofors in 1986. Bofors was given an order for over 400 155mm howitzers. The supply order was worth $1.5 billion. In 1987, reports emerged claiming that Bofors paid kickbacks to Indian politicians. And in 1999, more than a decade later, the CBI named Rajiv Gandhi as one of the accused in the charge sheet. And I have a copy of that affidavit. And I can tell you in point number 2, it says, and I'm quoting, "The petitioner, who was the Minister of External Affairs in the Government of India, visited Davos, Switzerland in January-February 1992. This visit was for attending the annual World Economic Conference. It alleged that the petitioner, during the period of the conference, sought an appointment with the Swiss minister, Mr. René Felber, for a few minutes in a hotel and is said to have requested that there should be no witnesses." You should smell a rat there. It also alleged that this meeting, the petitioner gave an envelope containing, and I'm quoting, "an unsigned typed memorandum related to the matter of execution of the aforesaid letters rogatory to Mr. Felber." We are talking about the Bofors case. It also alleged that in his meeting with Felber, the petitioner said he had new information about the Bofors case, and it was important for Mr. Felber to communicate that to the Swiss government. Mr. Felber is said to have told the petitioner that he was not responsible for justice matters, but he could take the document and pass it on to the Federal Office of Justice. The CBI essentially is accusing the then minister of trying or having tried to scuttle the Bofors investigation. The question then is, what was inside that letter? What did the Congress government want to convey to the Swiss government? And these are the details that we've been able to access. As we know, the memorandum to René Felber was unsigned and handed over in a sealed envelope. The memorandum was allegedly a request for quote-unquote mutual assistance. It denied all allegations of kickbacks. It requested the Swiss government to refrain from taking further steps. Do not investigate, was the message. The Congress government wanted the Swiss government to wait until the investigations in India are completed. Now, here is what Madhav Solanki said in his defense in Parliament back in 1992, 26 years back. He told the lower house in India that the meeting was just a courtesy call. Remember, he requested his Swiss counterpart to make sure that there are no witnesses to their discussions. Solanki also told Parliament that what he handed to Felber was just a note. He claimed that the note was about the status of court cases pending in India. Joining us is Kanchan Gupta, senior journalist who's also been speaking about it, and Sumit Chaturvedi, my colleague who's been reporting for WION from Davos. Mr. Gupta, let me begin with you. This is a tale of two trips to Davos, as we're calling it. One of a prime minister who goes and tries to hard sell India and welcomes investors to India, and the other is of a minister who is trying to scuttle an investigation that many of us believe was in the interest of India.
Yeah, what really prompted me was there was this tweet from the official handle of Rahul Gandhi, in which it was a particularly nasty tweet because the Prime Minister of the country was abroad. He was attending an important global conference. He was presenting the India story. And moments after he finishes his speech, there is this tweet by the official handle of Rahul Gandhi, which really was uncalled for. And I don't want to go into the details of what he had appended to that tweet, but that is what prompted me to respond to him and say that here is a prime minister who goes to Davos to sell the India story. And back in 1992, there was a Congress minister who traveled to Davos for the same conference, where he surreptitiously met the Swiss foreign minister and handed over a note saying that all investigations, and at that time, the courts in India had issued letters rogatory to the Swiss authorities seeking documents from Swiss banks because the bribe money had been cycled through or routed through Swiss accounts. And we needed those documents. Then letters rogatories had been issued, and the Swiss were acting on it. At that point, here is this Congress minister who goes to Davos and meets the Swiss foreign minister and tells him that please do not proceed with the investigation any further, stop the letters rogatory process, and we don't want to get to the bottom of it. Now, who authorized him? Who handed over that memorandum to him still remains a secret. I mean, nobody really knows. Prime Minister Narasimha Rao made an official statement both outside and inside Parliament saying that he was taken by surprise. He was totally unaware of it. He did not know what his minister was up to. So obviously somebody had handed over that memorandum to him. And it was really a shameful thing to do. They can't deny it because what the Swiss did, and the Swiss are definitely far better at handling corruption cases than us. So the Swiss foreign minister dutifully handed it over to the judicial process over there. And they put out that memorandum. And I think Chitra Subramaniam was the first person to get a copy of it. And she promptly put out a story in the Indian media on what was attempted. So credit for that goes to Chitra Subramaniam. As you said, that people of my generation would remember it. Public memory is short; people forget. But this is something which I think it was a self-goal by the official handle of Rahul Gandhi. He just revived one part of the Bofors story which people had forgotten about.
Indeed, stay with us, Kanchan Gupta. Sumit Chaturvedi, you've been speaking to people from various backgrounds, CEOs, film stars, people on the streets in Davos. What has been the reaction like? How do they see India? What is the sentiment? And we're comparing two visits 26 years apart, where one minister, Congress minister, goes and tries to tell the Swiss government in so many words, stop investigation into the Davos case because it is affecting my government. And here is a prime minister who goes and says, come and invest in India.
Well, Palki, there's optimism all around here. We spoke to a number of CEOs, even head of states, and everybody told us the same thing, that India's presence this time is far better than earlier years. Definitely it was led by PM Modi himself, but there's we can say that optimism all around here. CEOs are much kicked about, somebody like PM Modi himself coming here, talking to the whole world, giving a message that we are here, we have arrived. It's our position in the world which we deserve and should be given to us. And he actually shared the stage with the other big leaders, including the people who will be attending here will be US President Trump, Angela Merkel. She spoke today. So he is finally positioning India as a big global power at a time when there's so much of optimism around India here in Davos. So we spoke to CEOs. CEOs were really optimistic. Global CEOs, they were also confident that now India has opened its doors once again to foreign companies, and companies will be able to will be coming with their investments. So it is really a big optimism and environment of optimism about India here in Davos, as we could see here.
Right, Sumit. And I want to go back to that memorandum and relevant portions which were reproduced in a judgment about 10 years back, and I'm quoting, this request is based on allegations of briberies in the Bofors transaction. These are the words, this is the letter that Mr. Solanki handed over to his Swiss counterpart. The inquiry opened in India led to several proceedings in India where the validity and legality of the request for mutual assistance has been challenged in the court. Until a final decision is issued by Indian courts on the issue, no further steps should be taken in Switzerland in this matter. Kanchan Gupta, Mr. Solanki has had to tell many lies to cover up one. He says this was a courtesy call. Then he goes on to say that I just gave details of the court cases that were going on in India. But if you glance through what the memorandum said, he basically said it's affecting my government and please ensure that no further investigation takes place until we come up with something else. What does mutual assistance really mean in a case like this?
No, the mutual assistance part of it was that because there were no legal arrangements in place, we are talking of the 1990s, and the Swiss banking industry was still protected and shielded from public scrutiny. So we needed mutual assistance with the Swiss authorities to get to the bottom of particular Swiss bank accounts. We knew of the accounts, we knew the account numbers, but we needed the details. We had documents regarding those accounts, including a document which mentioned that two words, the Gandhi trustee. So somebody was operating that account as a Gandhi trustee. Now this is this is all there in the documents. I am not sort of interpolating or adding anything or subtracting anything. I beg to differ with you. I don't think his case was that this is affecting my government. He was not representing the government point of view. He was representing an individual's point of view or a group of individuals' point of view. So to say that he would have pleaded that this is affecting my government would be wrong. What he essentially tried to make out over there was that the entire process of mutual assistance has been challenged in the courts of law in India, and of course it was challenged by the beneficiaries or who were the assumed beneficiaries of the Bofors bribery case, and he wanted those challenges, the process of challenges and appeals to be over before the Swiss got into action. Now that is not how investigations work. The investigation was essentially aimed at two levels. One, we had the Swedes investigating into whether bribes were paid. That was the Swedish part of the investigation, and the second part was the Swiss investigation. In Switzerland, we were investigating what happened to the money that was paid. What was the money route? What was the money trail?
Right.
And that was essential to trace not only trace how the bribe was paid and how it traveled, but also to find out who were the beneficiaries. So Mr. Solanki, when he went and met the Swiss foreign minister, his aim was not to defend his government or save his government. His aim was to save and protect the beneficiaries of the Bofors scandal. So it is very clear. And he had to resign. I mean, in those days, India was slightly more outraged than it is today about cases of bribery. Mr. Solanki had to resign, and he had to resign and go in shame.
Indeed. And here's why I mentioned the government. This is on page 5th of the judgment from the Delhi High Court of 11th November 2014. And I'm quoting again. Although an inquiry took place in India, such allegations could not be proven. And it has been said that the request for mutual assistance was based on political reasons. These allegations caused the fall of Mr. Gandhi's government, although nothing could be established. So he was speaking about the previous government. But thanks very much, Kanchan Gupta and Sumit Chaturvedi for joining us. And you mentioned Chitra Subramaniam, the journalist who broke the Bofors story, has also spoken about the note that the minister carried to Davos and has written about it once again this evening in an article in the News Minute. Chitra Subramaniam recalls how she got the note through a source in Switzerland in February 1992. The source pointed out how the then Indian External Affairs Minister had tried to stop the Bofors probe, and her report and the storm that followed led to the then Minister Madhav Singh Solanki's resignation. Chitra Subramaniam writes, and I'm quoting, Solanki lost his job and refused to tell India who asked him to deliver the ridiculous note and why was he doing it when an official process was on. It is not difficult to answer those questions, but I was appalled to see the various tricks the Congress party was willing to use and the ignominy it was willing to hurl on its own people to save the Gandhi family. And this is what she concludes with, and we couldn't agree more with her. One day sooner rather than later, the Bofors India story will be told by someone in one medium or another. The story does not belong to any political party. It belongs to us Indians. The time to tell the next generation of Indians what really happened is coming. You're watching Gravitas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech at the World Economic Forum has energized the business community, or so we learn. Many say the Prime Minister made the perfect pitch for India as a global investment destination. WION caught up with some of the top business leaders. Here's Prakash Hinduja, chairman of the Hinduja Group, weighing in on how Modi's words will help India Inc.
We're joined here in Davos by Prakash Hinduja, chairman of Hinduja Group for Europe. So thanks for talking to us. You have been coming to Davos for a long time. What is different here this time?
Well, the difference is India. Prime Minister, after 20 years, we have the Indian Prime Minister coming to Davos, which is one of the great thing happening in Davos.
All right, sir. And, PM Modi is here. A lot of optimism. He's trying to put across the good things about India. He's trying to hard sell Indian reforms and all. And he had a meeting with CEOs and other dignitaries. What do you think about the optimism surrounding India here in Davos?
Well, the opportunities in India, investments, foreign investments coming in, manufacturing to grow in India in a big way. In the different states like UP, like Calcutta, like the areas the technologies require, India needs a lot of technology and a lot of foreign partnership. The growth of India can only happen when you have a foreign partnership, because the foreigners and the American companies or the European companies in the world, they have so much R&D. So much R&D they have done for several hundred years. With the research what they have, India needs that partnership to grow in a big way.
And sir, budget is just around the corner, though budget has lost its relevance from the last many years because reforms happen out of the budget, but still you have some hopes and some expectations this time from budget.
Well, agriculture is the top priority. So this is what I think that the government is really focusing on it, which I am so happy that the agriculture side was neglected. And now this will be a great encouragement for India.
So last question, PM Modi is here, you all are present here. A lot of positive message is coming across the world. PM Modi is sharing the stage with the world leaders across from the world in Davos. What message actually it sends that we have arrived on the global center stage?
You see, that part I cannot tell you, because that meetings are going to be with the head of the states, with the Prime Minister. The idea and the message will be that you should have more and more investments, more and more partnership, more and more growth. The knowledge sharing should be done. India has a knowledge, foreigner has knowledge. So it's the same two countries, different part of the world. India is going to be international. This is what the ambition of Prime Minister Modi is.
And the Indian delegation has more than 130 business and political leaders, many of whom are still there to attend sessions and network. WION Sumit Chaturvedi also caught up with Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Bollywood star Shah Rukh Khan, who was honoured with the Crystal Award for his humanitarian work.
Shah Rukh, how are you associated with Magnetic Maharashtra? What is your association here?
I think first, of course, when CM Saab is doling out such new policies and such changes, I think every person who lives in Maharashtra, like me, has to participate in it. And in case he had not invited me and said sweetly, please come over, I would still be here because I am who I am because of Maharashtra. And I think when these kind of changes come from a young CM, I think when we talk about ESOP, I was just reading one of the prospectus and it says they're going to make the regulations softer and faster. And of course, the digitization of the same, plus they're going to be giving monies for startups. When things like this are talked about, then you're talking about a change towards a younger Maharashtra, which only a young CM can do. So I find that very interesting, very heartening. And I am here in the capacity of telling everybody that, we are all here to give back to Maharashtra what Maharashtra has given us. And it was the financial capital of India. It is the financial capital of India. And inshallah, it should grow to be the financial capital of the world.
And also, you heard Prime Minister Modi today. What's your reaction to his speech, which he delivered here?
I think just to start off with the fact that it's an extreme moment of pride that the head of our state comes and tom-toms about, in a nice way, if I may say it positively, about the country and the readiness with which it has taken on to some of the most radical changes that have taken place in the world, keeping in mind that India is the biggest democracy and the most diverse nation in the world. I think we've done very well for ourselves that way. So I think just to show the resilience of the country and then to turn around and say that, India is ready to be the hub of globalization in terms of not only business, but in, lifestyle, wellness. We have some way to go. But all the reports are saying in 4 years we'll be the fourth largest economy. We'll overtake Germany in another, till 2050 we may overtake China. All that aside, the point is there is a positive vibe to the country which has come, and I think when the Honorable Prime Minister comes and showcases it at Davos, which is supposed to be a group of the most powerful people in the world, I think it's just a matter of great pride, and hopefully the world will listen and come to India and via Maharashtra.
One last question to you about Davos, Shah Rukh. You are the person who has made Switzerland, famous as in India. What are your feelings when you come to Davos and see so many people here, so many CEOs here, and snowing also, the first time so much snow in the last 2 decades?
The first time I saw it, though, my room mein se dekha, so I just felt like spreading my arms out and singing, tum paas aaye, yu muskuraye, tumne na jaane kya sapne dikhaye. Yeah, this is home to me. I was just, met a lot of Swiss, dignitaries here, and they all know me, and I told them how we used to come with the late ESG. And this is like what made our films also popular back in India and started a huge tourism for Switzerland, they tell us. So it's really nice to be back in Switzerland, in Davos. And yesterday when I was getting the award, I thought it was too serious a place. Otherwise, I could have started one song there.
States are competing with each other for investment here. How do you see their Magnetic Maharashtra, competing with other states as far as attracting investments is concerned?
No, I think Maharashtra has always been ahead. And I quoted you all the figures. So the figures are very pertinent, and I think we have a competition with ourselves.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Meanwhile, the snow-covered streets of Davos are dotted with protesters against Donald Trump, the president of the US, and practitioners of yoga. That's right. You can see some people performing asanas in the bone-chilling cold. India is also hosting a welcome reception for the delegates with its exquisite cuisine and yoga sessions. Sumit Chaturvedi met the yoga gurus specially flown in for this occasion.
Yoga in Swiss Alps sound very, very difficult, but these two acharyas are with me who are making it possible in these freezing temperatures in Davos, Acharya Smith and Acharya Bharadwaj. First of all, to you, Acharya Smith, how are you making it possible? Is that the power of yoga?
Yeah, when we do yoga daily, it increases our power to bear any cold or hot. So it's a performance of yoga.
And who all have participated in this yoga so far? Who all big CEOs or names? Or who were the real participants over the last few days that participated in this yoga?
We are invited by World Economic Forum to take yoga sessions of Indian CEOs. So our main event will be on the afternoon today at 3 o'clock. and more of many CEOs will come. Up to the date, we have taken 3 sessions in the morning and in the afternoon also. So we had some CEOs and we don't know the names, but more people, more and more are coming.
And to you, Mr. Bharadwaj, what is the benefit when we perform yoga at this kind of high altitude?
Yes, it increases our bearance power. It increases the energy which is inside us. The oxygen level of our body increases. The metabolism, catabolism, and anabolism, the system of the whole body becomes balanced. And we have taught yoga today morning also. CEOs had came here, and the flexibility of there, they said it has increased by yoga, and they are doing continuously yoga for past few years. And in this freezing temperature, yoga can help them to increase their flexibility, productivity, creativity, and divinity also. Their productivity increases because their mental health as well as their physical health and the peace which is inside them, and the divinity and the bliss increases. So they live the balanced life. They make balance in this material life with their spiritual life. So there is yoga bridges the gap between material life and spiritual life, and the synchronization between body, mind and soul, the equilibrium. Yoga maintains the equilibrium between this. So yoga is helpful in each and every condition, and योग से कहते हैं व्यक्ति मानव से महामानव बनता है, उसकी जो अंदर की शक्तियां हैं वो जागृत होती हैं.
And to you, Acharya Smith, you are here and you are a kind of brand ambassador of India. How are you feeling here in Davos in Switzerland?
I'm feeling very good and very respectful. Like I've got the chance to show our culture and heritage to this World Forum. So it's a great event.
Also in Davos is Pakistan Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi. Unfortunately for him, what's making headlines isn't his visit, but some visitors to his country. A team of United Nations inspectors has landed. They'll check if Pakistan is abiding by the sanctions imposed on terror outfits like Hafiz Saeed's Jamaat-ud-Dawa. Here's how it's playing out.
पाकिस्तान में हमारे मराकज़ का जायजा लिया जाए, हर जगह जमात के काम को देखा जाए. हम कोई गैर कानूनी काम नहीं कर रहे.
A lot of bravado in front of the cameras, yet ahead of a UN Security Council team visiting Pakistan. Global terrorist Hafiz Saeed went running to the Lahore High Court, seeking protection from arrest. And once again, the mastermind of the Mumbai terror attacks had his way. The High Court accepted Hafiz Saeed's plea and restrained the Pakistan government from arresting him till further notice, sealing the fate of another sham that has become synonymous with Islamabad. Even before the UN team's visit, Pakistan Prime Minister Shahid Abbasi's government had already decided that they won't be allowed any access to Saeed or his entities. So what would have arresting him achieve? More lip service from a country which is already under immense international pressure for doing little to tackle terror and giving a platform to terrorists like Hafiz Saeed.
कोई हर्ज नहीं है, पाकिस्तान में आए, हमारे मराकज़ को देखें, हमारा मुरीद के देखें, हमारा एजुकेशनल कॉम्प्लेक्स को देखें. हम कभी नहीं रोकते, हमने उसको ओपन किया हुआ है. दुनिया का जो वफद आना चाहे देखे.
The UNSC team is in Pakistan to assess Islamabad's compliance with the world body's sanctioned regime. Saeed was listed under the UN Security Council Resolution 1267 in December 2008. The sanctions list includes Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Falai-e-Insaniyat Foundation, all of which are linked to Hafiz Saeed. The Jamaat-ud-Dawa is believed to be the front organization for the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which orchestrated the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks that killed 166 people. It was declared a foreign terrorist organization by the US in 2014. After massive outrage, Pakistan took some perfunctory steps like banning donations to Hafiz Saeed's so-called charitable organizations. Prime Minister Shahid Abbasi claims his government will push ahead with plans to seize control of charities run by Hafiz Saeed. That really sums up the true picture of the Pakistani establishment. The same establishment that allows a UN-designated terrorist like Hafiz Saeed to roam free, to spew venom and unleash terror in countries like India, and to even have political ambitions. Terror Factory Pakistan is truly exposed for the world to see. Bureau Report, WION.
Take a look at what The Nation has said in one of their editorials, and I'm quoting, if Abbasi is serious about taking action against Jamaat al-Dawa, it would be a good and much needed step, since the active presence of Hafiz Saeed was bad, not just for the international image of Pakistan, weakening our case in front of the EU and UN in a potential India conflict, but it was also debilitating for our inner country affairs. We saw the negative effects of Hafiz Saeed, an internationally proclaimed terrorist, spreading influence in local political campaigns. The same article then goes on to talk about what Pakistan should be doing. As always, in the case of Hafiz Saeed, we have to watch out for government eyewash tactics and empty lip service till we see action. All this is empty rhetoric. In sharp contrast, India is growing in stature, playing host to not one, not two, but 10 world leaders. It's another first in the country's 68-year-old history as a republic. 10 world leaders will be chief guests at the Republic Day celebrations in New Delhi this Friday. India will showcase its military might to ASEAN leaders, including state-of-the-art weapons and missile systems and indigenously manufactured armament that India hopes to export in the future. India's attempt to transform its ties with ASEAN comes at a time when the geopolitical center of gravity is shifting to the Indo-Pacific, and needless to say, there is much at stake for both South and Southeast Asia in the emerging regional dynamic. WION's Ramesh Ramachandran has more.
पूरे पाकिस्तान में हमारे मराकज़ का जायजा लिया जाए, हर जगह.
Round of applause.
As Sushma Swaraj said, among the many things that bind ASEAN to India are Buddhism and Ramayana. At a gala dinner in New Delhi on Tuesday, her ASEAN guests had a special request. Brunei's foreign minister wanted the musicians entertaining guests to play the song Kuch Kuch Hota Hai from the Shah Rukh Khan starrer by the same name.
Mr. Lim Jok Hoi, Secretary General.
While the ASEAN Secretary General, who also happens to be from Brunei, wanted to hear Bol Radha Bol Sangam Hoga Ki Nahi from the film Sangam starring Raj Kapoor. As the evening progressed, Swaraj recounted an anecdote involving Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a former Prime Minister of India, to remind her audience of the civilizational ties that exist between India and ASEAN. She narrated how Vajpayee was surprised one time to see an Indonesian man making idols of Hanuman, a Hindu god.
तो उनका आप हनुमान जी की मूर्ति क्यों बना रहे हो? तो जवाब मिला, साहब हमने मजहब बदला है, पुरखे नहीं बदले. और अभी मैं इंडोनेशिया गई थी, मेरी जॉइंट कमीशन मीटिंग थी वहाँ की फॉरेन मिनिस्टर रत्नों के साथ, तो सब लोगों ने एक साथ कहा रिलीजन और कल्चर अलग है. रिलीजन हमारा इस्लाम है, लेकिन कल्चर आज भी पुरानी है. इस तरह से सांस्कृतिक संबंध केवल जुड़े नहीं, चालू है.
But there's more to India-ASEAN ties than culture or religion. As they celebrate 25 years of ties and look forward to the next 25, defense and maritime security are emerging as key focus areas.
For a long time, Thailand's foreign affairs has been focused on the land-based, area. And we, with talk of Indo-Pacific and so on, we're realizing that we have neglected, the maritime front, and we are behind others. So countries like India, Indonesia, Philippines, they can help us, strengthen our diplomacy in this area.
For India, its Act East policy is anchored in the northeastern states, all of which are landlocked, and some share international borders with an ASEAN neighbor.
There are two oceans, the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and there is this huge economic space where there is so much potential, where in fact our own goods move through these waters, 40% of our own trade, and 2/3 of world trade passes through these waters of the Indo-Pacific region. It is therefore important that this particular region remains the center of peace, prosperity, And that is where there is greater discussion about the Indo-Pacific.
As India and ASEAN rediscover their common heritage and shared future, their relations could potentially shape the security architecture in the Indo-Pacific region.
Our Prime Minister had said that Act East policy is at the core of India-ASEAN relations. And that sums up what Act East policy is all about.
General, you have the double distinction of knowing things from a military perspective and diplomatic perspective. Now, this phrase Indo-Pacific is gaining currency. What does it mean for India and the region at large?
We are only talking of India and ASEAN today.
India's handling of the Doklam standoff with China has not gone unnoticed in the ASEAN countries, some of whom have outstanding maritime disputes with China. A lot will depend, though, on how quickly India and ASEAN are able to convert opportunity into advantage. Ramesh Ramachandran, WION.